Welcome back to AM Northwest. Influence is at the heart of great leadership. But did you know the secret to unlocking your influence lies in managing your brain? Here to share more about neuroleadership, we welcome back executive coach and leadership strategist, Dr. Carol Parker Walsh. Good to see you. Okay. Hi. My brain is going to need some help with this. So, neuroleadership, tell me more.
Yes, so neuroleadership, it's actually a phrase that's coined and came around about 20 years ago.
Oh.
And what it does, it takes neuroscience and understanding, helps leaders to understand how their brain works and how it processes emotions, connections, learning, and things of that nature, so they can amplify their leadership and be much better at what they do.
Okay, so you say that we need to master our emotional regulation.
Yes. So the key thing is that if you want to be influential, you have to make sure that your brain isn't emotionally hijacked.
Okay.
And so what I mean by that is that
you're not just following your emotions.
Exactly.
Okay.
We tend to make decisions by our emotions, particularly under stress. And when we're emotional, the cortisol levels rise within our brain and we can't think clearly.
Right.
It fogs and covers over our prefrontal cortex, which is our logic center. And so if we get triggered and are always like emotional, then we don't make the best decisions, we don't have the best interactions, we'll be highly sensitive, and ineffective really in our leadership and not be able to be influential. So the best way to really respond to that is to try to do some deep breathing and to really kind of control that emotional regulation to lower the stress levels. And people think breathing is, they like kind of a yoga move, but it really does calm the brain. It helps to lower the stimuli, that fight-flight response that we get into that makes us really tense and really stressed. And it helps to calm that down, lower the cortisol levels so that we can actually think clearly and rationally and make sound decisions and be able to engage with people in a much better way.
You also say it's important to learn your emotional triggers.
Yes, you absolutely want to learn what are the things that cause you to, get really anxious or really stressful or cause you to be very reactive against something.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we think other people are causing it, but it really is something within ourselves that we have to figure out what's triggering that so we can manage it.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then reprogram your thoughts to unlock that new potential that you have in there.
Yes, yes. Everything starts with how we think, right? And the narratives that we tell ourselves. And the thing that happens is our belief systems, whether they're limiting beliefs or empowering beliefs, are kind of neural pathways that we've developed. They're like well-worn roads in our brain. And thanks to neuroplasticity, we can create new roads and new ways of thinking. So if we have thoughts like, well, I can't do this, or this is impossible, right? If we program our brain to believe that's true, then anytime we try to do something, our brain's going to say, no, we can't do that, right? Yeah. That's what that's what you programmed yourself to believe.
Right.
But if you can shift that to, well, I'm learning or I'm growing into something, then that's possible. All within reason, right? I mean, I can't do brain surgery. Like, we have to be realistic about certain things.
Yeah.
But if it's things like, well, I can't possibly do that or I can't possibly change that, if we stick with that way of thinking, we're not going to grow as a leader and be effective because we're going to limit our opportunity.
Right. And as a worker, I would think, too, because a lot of people get in the habit of just assuming they can't do this and can't do that.
Absolutely. It's for everyone, right?
Yes, for everyone.
And the reason why I'm talking about it from a leadership perspective is that if you want to help your people, you have to help yourself.
Right.
Right? It's kind of like putting that oxygen mask on yourself. And when you learn how to do it, you can really help your team members do it as well.
You also talk about the importance of building through connection.
Yes. We are wired to connect, right? Human nature is to be in community with other people. And it's why we struggle with perfectionism and people pleasing, because we want people to like us and to be, to love what we do. But it's really important that we understand that if we're not feeling safe or we're not feeling accepted, that's going to cause a problem. So the amygdala, which is the detector of stress within our brain, if it's highly active because it's fearful, then you're not going to be as productive or effective as you could be, because you're in a state of fear and you're kind of pulling yourself back because you don't feel safe or in community, or you feel like you can trust someone.
Sure.
So particularly as a leader, you want to build those spaces where people feel safe and they feel comfortable and they feel accepted and they feel like you understand them. And when you feel that way, your brain is going to calm the stress center down and be much more effective in its work and what it's doing.
Okay. And then you say to adapt your style to effectively lead others.
Yes. Well, that's the big thing about leadership, is that you're supposed to lead others, and the best way to do that is to understand them. And when you understand people's neural wiring, which is kind of the unconscious, that how we show up, in the world, the things that we may not be understanding about ourselves. Assessments are a great tool to be able to do that. You know, most of those assessments are based in Jungian psychology, which studies the unconscious mind.
Right.
And so when we take those assessments, we get a better understanding of our neural wiring. And as a leader, when you do that with your team member, you have a better understanding of their neural wiring as well. And when you can do that, then you understand how to be able to lead them in a way, to adapt your style in a way that helps them learn better, help them to be much more effective. Our prefrontal cortex is really sensitive to social dynamics. And so when we are, again, more calm and more stable, we can be much more productive. So understanding my communication style, how I'm wired to communicate, how I'm wired to be productive, how I'm wired to be collaborative, if I understand that as a leader, I can adapt my style in such a way to really support you to be successful, and it helps me to be successful as well.
That makes sense. And as a coworker, if you're working with someone, not everyone is going to communicate the same way as you do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So doing these things, these team dynamics of helping people understand how I show up, right?
Yeah.
Tools like DISC or Myers-Briggs or other those little fun little personality things that we take to understand ourselves better, it helps us to be able to understand others better as well.
Absolutely. And now I understand you better. All right.